Welcome to the State and Todd Washington Commanders podcast brought to you by Fansided. And Todd, we are in the heart of the season. Not really, but it seems like it always with Washington. Uh,
Mm,
Redskins football team, Commanders. It
Hall of
seems
Fame.
like we always hit the fan early as far as animosity, um, stress,
Right.
disappointment.
Mm,
Todd, we're 1-2 heading into Dallas this week. How you feeling?
yeah. So like 1 and 2 is not bothering me. It's how you got to 1 and 2 or what 1 and 2 looked like. I'm not feeling great, but it's not because they're 1 and 2. It's because of what they looked like while going 1 and 2. So, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm not feeling great, and not because of their record, but more because of what it represents. How are you feeling?
I feel honestly, I'm very upset. Last night, yesterday was tough. Just seeing how
Mm-hmm.
you lose to a Detroit team where you could have won that game, whether you started slow or not, and just to see the team come out slow again,
Right.
that really frustrated me more than anything. Um, the fact that I believe if the offense could have scored early, the game was very winnable. But the defense was playing well in the first quarter or so, and it had the opportunity to get up. But I'm very disappointed. And Todd, I think it's a point where I'm like, I just can't do that this year, man. I can't do it again
Right.
this year.
Right. And that, I mean, so that brings us to our topic today, which is really just going to be entertaining the thought of is it looking like it's potentially time to start over. Now, I want to caveat this conversation with the statement that I'm a logical thinker, Tate. So I try to balance the last 2 years, what we've seen, the last 3 games, what we know about the roster, with also the fact that it is week 3, right, and that there's 14 more games. Like,
Hmm.
I try to balance that because we don't know a team after the first 3 weeks, positive or negative, and we know that. Now we know that if you go 0-2, 0-3, the odds of you making the playoffs are extremely low. But we
Right.
also know that if you go 3-0, you could end up going 7-10,
Hmm.
right? Trying to balance that with also saying, yeah, it's 3 weeks into this season, but it's 3 years into this head coach and offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, and
Right.
2 years into this general manager setup. And it's not that you're 1 and 2. So I've learned as a fan, and it's something outside of football that's helping me learn and understand as a fan and as a player, whatever, that we have to be able to accept losing because the reality is we're not going to win
Yeah.
every game, right?
Yeah.
We know we're not going to go 17-0. That's not even the goal. The goal is to win more than you lose, right? And so that's something that I'm getting better with, especially when it comes to football. Is like I can accept losing. Losing is an acceptable outcome
Hmm.
in sports for the Commanders. It is. Like,
Hmm.
you say that and people say, "Well, no, it's not acceptable." But it is, because you're not going to win every game. You're just trying to win more games and then win it when it really matters.
Right.
But how you lose can be very unacceptable.
Right.
And 3 years in, look, okay, so look, it's Carson Wentz's first season, great. Dotson, Curtis Samuel, first season, 2 new guards on offense. That's all great. It's 3 years in. I don't really care so much that you went 1 and 2. I care that you were outscored and you've been outscored 46-0 in the first half of games over the last 2 weeks. And we're not talking about the Chiefs or the Bills or the Rams or the Bucks or any Super Bowl. Right? We're not talking about those teams. Now, if you ask me, performing like that against those teams still would be unacceptable.
Hmm.
But we're talking about a Detroit Lions team that they might be better, have improved, but they're not a Super Bowl contender. An Eagles team that is your division rival. No matter how good they may be this year, they are your division rival. To come out looking the way you have now for 2 weeks and it being 3 years into this, and you put this roster together and this defense looking like they can't stop anything. I know yesterday, was better, but they had a horrible second quarter. Having an offense that's supposed to be super talented, but suddenly now they can't block anybody. The offensive coordinator doesn't know how to get anybody to the ball. Um, I mean, you got to start thinking about this sort of thing, Tay. Right? I don't want to think about it this early in the season, but you have to think about, well, if it's been 3 years and you can't do this, but you look at what the Eagles 3 years ago, they were terrible. They went, what, that 2020 season? What was their record under Carson Wentz? Whatever it was, they were terrible.
Yeah.
But now they're looking like Super Bowl contenders.
Hmm.
and here we are losing to them the way that we did yesterday, in an embarrassing way. I think you have to start thinking about it. I know people are past thinking about it. People are saying fire Ron Rivera. It takes a lot for me to really get there. I haven't seen the level of failure yet for me to say that statement, but I mean, 2 more weeks. If you come out next week against Dallas looking like you have, you come out the week after that, Tennessee, well then yeah, because this is unacceptable. And even if you're not a coach who can start fast, that's an issue for me. I need a coach who can start fast.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just a conversation you kind of got to have. Is it leaning towards time of, well, we need to start over? And starting over for me doesn't mean a rebuild of the roster. I think you have to improve the roster. I don't think you need to rebuild it. But you might need to rebuild this coaching staff in this front office.
Yeah, I wouldn't jump the gun yet, although my feelings are that I think you have to consider Ron has done a great job with building the culture, and I'm all for that. But now I'm at the
Mm-hmm.
point where that's fine and dandy, year one, year two, building that culture. But now I'm like, all right, I want to win games. When you see a Jacksonville Jaguars team who is under a first year coach, now granted they
Right.
do have a superstar quarterback who's going to be really good. They're 2-1, and
And they're an impressive 2-1,
exactly
and should be
impressive.
3-0.
They really
Could be
should.
3-0.
They really should. And
Right.
you see a Detroit team who's showing
Battling.
promise, and
Battling.
they're
Yes.
1-2, but still they're 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 a
They've
good team,
looked. They're not getting blown out by anybody.
and they're not getting bullied. And
Yes. Exactly.
especially from Ron Rivera, his coaching, his physicality as far as his teams in the past, and the
Right.
fact that we don't see any physicality here amongst the offensive line, defensive line, corners,
Right.
receivers, yes, maybe more finesse, but where is the physicality? It's like we've
Right.
gotten bullied every single game besides the first game. And even in the first game, second half, we started to get
You got
bullied a little
bullied.
bit.
Yeah. You did.
So that's my concern. It's year three. You should be having all your
Yeah.
guys in your system. The fact that you have cornerbacks the fact that you don't have linebackers and you're a linebacker piece and Jack Del Rio as well, and you can't find linebackers, it's just
Right.
beyond me. It's
Yeah.
way beyond me. You can't make excuses. Are you being cheap in the off season? Are you not? What are you doing? And um, I think it starts. I wouldn't say I'm not going to panic yet, but Ron has a history so far of starting slow, and I'm not trying to deal with that this year. There
Right.
are good teams, this year that are 1-2. It's still early. It's still so early. You
Yeah.
got the 49ers, they're 1-2, playoff team. You got the Bengals, they're 1-2. You got the Chargers 1-2. So they're good teams that are 1-2. And you got some fluke teams like the Bears who are 2-1, like the Giants who are 2-0, and
Might be three
some
and zero.
other teams who are just stepping up. So it'll all balance itself out
Right.
going
Right.
into week 8 or so. But I'm concerned. Why can't you be like the Giants and start out 2-0?
Right.
You know,
Yeah, and it's like, again, because we're talking about the records, but it's about like how you've looked getting there. Because if you're 1-2, or even you're 0-3, you've lost 3 games by game-winning field goals.
right?
You know that's different from being down 22 to nothing at half and then being down
Mhm,
24 to nothing at half.
mhm.
And you talk about the Giants. They beat the Titans. They came back and beat the Titans week 1. Last week they beat who did they beat last week? I can't remember who they beat.
They beat
But
they beat the Titans and they beat the who was it?
was it I can't remember, but the Titans. I don't see this Commanders team coming out and playing the Titans the way the Giants did, and I
Mhm,
don't think it's as much of a. It's just it's a preparedness. It's a mentality thing. It's a scheme thing, like how you scheme to beat these teams. The Cowboys beat the Bengals with Cooper Rush. I
mhm.
don't see the Commanders beating the Bengals with their full starters on offense and defense, right? And again, it's frustrating because, like you said, you watch a team like the Lions, the way they played that first half against the Commanders. I mean, when was the last time you saw this team play like that? And I'm not talking so much about getting up 22 to nothing. I'm talking about with just like a tenacity and
Mhm.
just like a fire and an aggressiveness and a physicality, like you said, where it's just like I came here to win this game. That's all I care about, and I'm doing that right there. It doesn't. You don't feel anything lackadaisical, whatever it is, lackadaisical, or you don't feel like any energy is missing. You feel like they came to play. It just feels like it's so few and far between for the Commanders, and we've seen them do that, right? We saw it in 2020 when they beat the Steelers. We've seen it. We saw some last year when they beat the Bucks and when they went on a 4-game win streak. But that's my thing with Rivera. Like, this season is not lost. Okay, I want to be clear about that. First of all, I think they beat the Cowboys next week. I just think that they do. And I think that they are still a team that can win 7, 8, 9 games. But this is still an issue regardless of how the season ends. And why is it that for some reason you can't actually start playing like that until you get punched in the face? Why can't you knock somebody out first? Why do you have to get knocked out to be like, oh, dang, okay, we're fighting? That doesn't make sense to me. And, I mean, aside from that, I have so many questions about it being year 3, and it's like we're still putting a priority on developing not even players you drafted, but if someone gets hurt, we're not signing a free agent, a veteran free agent to come in. We're signing undrafted rookie free agent to get him some experience. But this is year 3. I thought we were all in now, right? Just for example, and there's a lot more to this, right? But just for example, you lose a defensive lineman, and me, the fan, the Madden player, saying, well, who's the best available free agent defensive lineman? Not who is the best available undrafted free agent who's never played in the league. Who's the best NFL player? Ndamukong Suh. Now, like I said, there's layers to this, but why are we going after people who no one's ever heard of, who have not, but more than that, who have never played a game? Wild Goose, a player named Wild Goose, was starting for you at cornerback yesterday. There are better free agent, veteran cornerbacks out there so that William Jackson, when he does get hurt, you have someone who's at least played in an NFL game to play. And what did Wild Goose do? He came in, he had 2 pass interference penalties. It's just those decisions they made sense in 2020. 2020 it made sense. You're trying to just find diamonds in the rough, trying to develop players. We're trying to develop what we have, but we're trying to build on it. Another example, DeAndre Carter at kick and punt returner when you had DeAndre Carter last year. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time fighting for DeAndre Carter, but he's better than Dax Milne as a kick returner, and he's probably better than Dax Milne as a wide receiver. I don't care. Their potential is comparable. Why not keep the better? So you start to see these decisions that are being made, and it's just, why isn't this roster better? Why does it seem like teams watch on film and know exactly how to stop us on offense and exactly how to beat us on defense? And there's nothing we can do. And it feels like the defense is always playing on their heels. Always, like, you watch the Broncos and the Broncos and the 49ers yesterday. And it's like both defenses were just going forward.
Yes.
That's what it feels like, right, Tay? You were watching that game? Or no?
Yeah.
Right? You feel like both defenses are just like on the attack. Physical. Like they're not playing timid or shy.
Missed a tackle in open field.
Right, exactly. You had turnovers forced, you had turnovers created, and it's just like we're playing defense like it's supposed to be. Like when we played flag football today, in one game we were rushing one and trying to cover, and I said, no, we need to go man on man and just get after it. And then we started stopping them. But with the Commanders, always feel like their defense is on their heels. Like it feels like the other team offense always has a leg up, always knows exactly what to do. I mean, Derek Forrest said as much against the Lions. And so, like, what is the issue? Why is Montez Sweat not playing up to his potential? Why is William Jackson and Kendall Fuller playing so bad? Why is Jamin Davis? Why was he out of position for a season? Like, some of this stuff goes on the players, but we can't put it all on the players, because I'm confident if you put this roster with the Lions, I think that we would have seen that fire that we saw from the Lions. So but like I said, it's week 3. I got to see what they do this week against the Cowboys. I think they win, and then I got to see what they do the week after, and I got to see if they come up. And if I was hoping after the Lions lost that you'd come in week 3 and say, well, no, we're not going to let you do us like the Lions did in our house, and they did. Okay, well, it's happened twice now. Are you going to take it out on the Cowboys, or are the Cowboys going to do the same thing? And I honestly don't know, but I hope.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know, but this 3-game stretch right here is going to be very telling for me. You got Cowboys winnable game with Cooper Rush. You got
the Titans,
and you got the Bears,
and the Bears
Thursday night.
Right.
So that's 3 winnable games, and
100%.
If you snap. And then a Packers team who isn't, the normal Packers team.
Right.
Rodgers at the crib.
Honestly, the Washington's played the Packers pretty consistently the last several years. Right.
And it's at home, so they can easily turn this around. But, Ron, I can't do another 2-5 start.
Right,
I can't
right.
do. I hate being a team that's always fighting to get
Yes,
in a 4 game win streak
yes,
to get back
yes,
to 500,
exactly.
and then no, just let's just
Let's
give me
start
3-3,
start strong.
4-4. Give me that.
Yes, exactly. Can we go like tit for tat, like shot for shot?
That's
Like
what I'm
I
saying.
want to read this tweet from Damian Bartonic. Follow him on Twitter if you don't. He's a fan and up and coming in media at DA Bartonic. The Washington Commanders under Ron Rivera over the last 3 years. 2020, 2-5 start. 4 double-digit losses within the first 7 weeks. 2021, 2-5 start. 4 double-digit losses within the first 7 weeks. 2022, 1-2, 2 double-digit losses through the first 3 weeks. So like we're keeping on pace with that.
Right.
And I just 2020, okay, sure. 2021, okay, you lost your starting quarterback, okay, and 2022, like what? I thought you had your guy. I know last week the Lions game, if Joey Sly doesn't miss the extra point, it's technically not a double-digit loss,
Yeah.
but you get the idea.
Still.
And like and these next 3 weeks will be very telling because again, Tay, the reality of it is that anything is possible. Okay,
Mhm.
I refuse to respond so strongly to either outcome. The truth is, if we went 3-0, we would feel like we were headed for the Super Bowl. And the reality is, we probably are not. Right?
Yeah.
Like we're probably gonna fizzle out some
Right.
and then be a playoff team, but we probably would not be the team that we look like through the first 3 weeks. We saw
Mhm.
the Steelers start 10-0, right,
Mhm.
and then do nothing to in the finish the season and
Right.
in the playoffs. So we know that, but so I refuse to make any like 100% declarative statements about anything. But it's really these next 3 weeks. I mean, if you lose to the Cowboys and the Titans and you're 1-4, then you go into a game against the Bears where, first of all, on paper you should be beating the Bears,
Yes.
right? If you end up at 1-4 and you need to beat the Bears to get to 2-4, that's a bad situation. That's almost a no-win situation, but you need to win. And then if you lose and you're 1-5, at that point you got to start making some serious decisions. On the flip side, Tate, if they were to win their next 3 games and get to 3-2, nobody cares about these last 2 games,
Right.
right?
Right.
Doesn't matter anymore. It's in the past. Even if you lose, even if you win close games, you beat the Cowboys by 3, beat the Titans by 1, and beat the Bears by 4. We're not worried about these 2 blowout losses.
Because then you look at it and you say, well, you lost to the Eagles team, who's probably Super Bowl favorites
Yeah,
as of now. You got
yeah.
MVP guy and Justin Hurts and uh,
One of the
not
most
Justin
talented
Herbert.
rosters in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah. So Jalen
Yeah, yeah,
Hurts.
right. And a
So
Lions team that's going to be better.
yeah, that's going to be better. I mean, they should have won this week.
Yeah,
They could have won, but
exactly.
injuries. Swift got hurt, but they were up the majority of that game. So um, it's going to be interesting. I think it's not time to panic, but you got to start looking at this stuff because
Right.
anybody else, you got Matt Rule, who's getting he has a long leash as well there in Carolina. They
Mm,
finally won a game after losing 10
yeah.
straight. But this
Oh,
roster
geez.
is better than that team,
Right. Right.
that Carolina team. So he really has no excuse. And my last thing is Scott Turner may need to get back in the booth
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
because I don't think he can see the field well um, uh, at that length. And I think
Yeah.
they may need to reconsider him going back to the booth so he can see how the field and all
Hmm.
that stuff because it's just
Yeah.
unacceptable.
No, I agree. That's the thing. It's unacceptable to take. You saw the picture where the Eagles had 323 pass yards and the Commanders had -1. And then against the Lions, the Wentz had like was it around 20, 30 some pass yards or whatever, or when we were near halftime. These are getting quickly towards fireable levels
Oh yeah, it is.
of failure offensively. Like again, like this is not lose. Like I said, losing is an acceptable outcome. -1 pass yard in like the third quarter. That's a coaching issue, Tate. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, Wentz was holding the ball too long in certain situations. Personally, I believe the offensive line was more terrible
Yeah,
than Wentz was holding the ball too
me
long.
too.
But all of that centers around Scott Turner failing to really put them in winning situations once he figured out what was going on. The first couple of sacks, okay, we're figuring this out. After that, we're still taking 7-step drops. We know these edge rushers are just beating our tackles around the edge to the quarterback on these 7-step drops. We know that they're covering everything downfield. They're jumping everything underneath. I'll be honest with you, I can't tell you what to do because I'm not the offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you to not do what you're doing and to change what you're trying to do faster than you did. 7-step drops when you've given up 4, 5, 6 sacks already, but not just that, the offensive line clearly can't handle the men in front of them. And then the offensive line that this staff put together after last year's offensive line, which was better, right? So it's just like, yeah, Scott Turner, he's got it. They've, especially after what we saw the first 2 drives against the Jaguars, which was urgency and like cohesion and a plan and quick stuff. I mean, you just go back and watch the Bills against the Rams week 1 and watch how they started on offense and how quickly Josh Allen was throwing the ball. And again, we can talk about Wentz and holding the ball, but on several of those sacks, it wasn't a situation where he's trying to get the ball out quick. If a 7-step drop is not a quick throw. A 7-step drop is a downfield, longer developping route, and at best case scenario, you're throwing it at the top of the drop after a hitch. Brandon Graham and Hassan Reddick were swiping for the ball at that point, right? So your quick throw would be a 3-step drop or no drop.
Mm-hmm.
So I just Scott Turner, yeah, that if the offense starts off like that again this week against the Cowboys, yeah, you got to really start thinking about that because
I mean, Mike is going to probably get like 8 sacks.
Seriously, I mean, what's the plan for blocking Micah Parsons right now?
They need to chip him. If they don't chip him every play, it's something wrong. They need to chip him every play.
He's 4 sacks in 2 weeks. They play the Giants tonight. Guarantee you he'll get at least 1 more, if not
get
3. You're right, exactly. So, and it's clear now that teams can see what the Lions did. It's like when you get dominated so bad on one side of the ball, like the Cowboys can just watch what the Lions did and what the Eagles did and say, oh, this is all we have to do. Mm-hmm. And we have the tools to do it. We have DeMarcus Lawrence. We have Micah Parsons. We have whoever else they have. So, but then you would say, okay, for everything in football and sports across the board, if they do that, then we do this. That exists for everything. Okay, if they're going to attack us like that, because the Lions and the Eagles did that to us and it worked, that means that they have a weakness we can exploit because of how they attacked us. So if the Cowboys are going to get after us, which we know they are because we saw how successful it's been for the last 2 teams we played, then we need to attack them however it is based on how we know they're going to attack us to beat them. If we don't see that, if we see the same thing that the Lions and the Eagles did, the Cowboys do, and it works again for a 3rd week, I can't sit and watch abysmal offense like that, especially one where it's suddenly not a talent issue because we know it's not a talent issue now.
It's not.
So Scott Turner, I mean, yeah, but again, Ron Rivera hired Scott Turner.
Yeah.
So, it's like everything's going to go back up there, and there's no way to escape it. So it's like I don't even want to talk about head coaches, and that I don't even know who I would want the next head coach to be. Yeah. I know that there's an obsession with Byron Leftwich that I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
I know that Sean Payton's not coming here, or Lincoln Riley, right? So, but I don't even want to have that conversation. I want to focus on the Cowboys, because if you bounce back this week and beat the Cowboys, then okay, then we take a quick breath and say, okay, now let's see what they do against the Titans, right? And then if they lost both of these games, but they were close games, okay, like we don't feel good, but like it was normal. It was normal football. It was normal sports. You tried and you lost. You battled and you lost. Getting beat the way they did is absurd, Tay. That cannot happen again for the rest of the season. Okay,
it can't.
You got your 2 bad ones out at the start of the season, so you got 14 more games. You better not look like how you look today one more time over the rest of the season. It's just unacceptable because it's happened now, so you know what to do. Like you should be aware of how to stop it.
Exactly.
So if you can't, then you're just not good at your job, and that means you shouldn't have the job.
That's it, bro. They're serious. I mean, I have nothing else to say. I'm nothing.
Okay, well then let's just stop it there.
Yeah, I mean, I was hot. I was really hot, and they just cannot. They cannot come out flat like that.
No, you can't. Not one more time this season.
If I see that from Ron 3 games back to back,
yeah,
I'm not of an issue. And what he needs to do this week is they need to get the ball out quick. They need to work on the short game, the quick game. I don't know why Cole Turner hasn't been active. Um, I have so many questions, but I expect the defense to play well, and the run game has been non-existent.
Right.
Part of that has to do with Gibson. He
Right.
cannot find a hole. He's running lateral.
Love.
I
Yeah.
think the offense will start clicking once Brian Robinson
I think that'll help for
gets
sure.
gets going.
Yeah.
I think he'll open up the run game. He knows how to hit those holes. He'll slow down the pass rush and run some screens. I think Carson wants the big play every single time. I think the check down was there. We're just going to the check down is an extension of the run game. Just check it.
Yeah.
Just check it. Just check it. Let
Right.
these
Right.
guys
Right.
make plays. Terry should not be getting his first touch in the third quarter. Eight
Yeah.
minutes in the third quarter.
That's
Scott
unacceptable.
has to do a better job. Do some end arounds. Do something. Get these guys involved. They
Right.
have to catch the football. Jahan Dotson had a big drop.
Yeah.
Um,
Terry
I
had two
don't
drops.
blame him because at that point the game is
I
like
mean, the
basically
game was pretty much over.
yeah, the
Yeah.
game is over. So
I
Terry
think in a
dropped.
real situation, I think they're catching those.
Yeah. So they're going
But
to go to
still,
the drawing board. You have to beat this Dallas team, and it's not the end of the road because
it's
if
not.
you beat this Dallas team, you got a Tennessee team, you got a Bears team. You can
After
start
that
to
is the
form
Colts,
an
I think.
identity. You can start to form an
Right.
identity.
Right.
You get Titans, you get Chase Young possibly back. Who knows? You get Brian Robinson back, and then you can kind of who knows, And
Yeah.
so that's where I'm at. I've had it about here with Ron right as of now, and actually like here. You
Oh
can't
man,
even
I was
see it
like, man, I thought
how
that's
my
what.
iPad is, but um, they have to perform. I'm tired of
Yeah.
these press conferences blaming players and saying
Yeah.
no. The coaches need to be better. I need to see something from the coaches saying the coaches need to be better. I need to be better at play calling.
Right.
I'm done
Yeah.
with the blaming the players.
Yeah.
Play football, get physical, get some personal fouls. I mean, just getting ragdolled.
Yeah. Right.
Like come on, man. Like come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Bunch
that's
of nice
that.
guys on the offensive line. Like come on, guys. Like
Right. And that's what I'm saying is that's why this week I'm saying you just got, your lunch taken twice back to back. Okay, so I expect you to come out against Dallas in Dallas ready to beat them, ready to destroy them. I'm not even saying that they're capable of doing that, but that mentality wise that's what you're coming out here to do.
seriously.
Like because that's what's been done to you. So if what I'm getting early on from the vibes is that the last 2 weeks, we just lost a couple games. This is just a new week. No, carry last week and the week before that into this week. You know how you're supposed to like hold on to the loss through the night, whatever, move on the next day. No, don't move on from these. These are not the types of losses you move on from. These are the types of losses you carry with you. Okay, so I want to see them carrying this loss, these two losses, into this week 4 game against Dallas. Anything less than that is unacceptable on the part of the coaches more than anything, because if it's the players' issue, you pick the players to come here. You pick players who don't care if they get beat 24-0,
Hmm.
22-0. And you clearly are not capable of motivating them after having gotten beat
Hmm.
24-0. Okay, so if we want all the good boys and all the 5-star military trained guys,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
I'd rather have the guy who's gonna have two 15-yard penalties because
Hmm.
he's gonna be so pissed off that he
Hmm.
lost that he
Hmm.
just can't even control himself.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
he's gonna come up next week and he's gonna be like that. I don't want someone who's trying to be friends with everyone on the team.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
great. But more than that, I want someone who's gonna be a dog and try to make plays for their team. No playmakers on this defense. You got one turnover in 3 weeks. One turnover on a Hail Mary, essentially. So really no turnovers. That's just ridiculous. So that's what I want to see, next week against the Cowboys. We'll talk about all that. But it's just yeah, it's less about winning and losing games. It's about manhood. It's about
Yeah.
pride. Like
Yeah.
do you care
Yeah.
about how you look and how you perform as a man? I just
Yeah. Yeah,
so
and that's what kills me. And I'm done right there. But after this,
yeah.
this week, I want to see business. I don't want to see them laughing, putting videos about can a chicken, forget all that stuff. I want to see game face. I don't want to see Ron on
Yeah.
Good Morning Football,
Right, right.
doing interviews, talking about
I
how
don't need
much
to see
stuff.
Tress Way sitting down with
Yeah,
anybody.
just man, just play football. You don't see any other
Yeah.
coaches doing that, man. Come
Right, right.
on,
You can do that when you're winning. When you're the Chiefs and you're the
that's what I'm
Bills, you
saying.
can talk. You can do whatever you want. When you're getting beat the way you did, just shut up, right?
Seriously.
And we talk about them, they're players, and it's like, oh, they're human. Yeah, I get it, they're human. If I was on my job getting destroyed like that, then I would be saying the same thing to myself, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we're all human, but like I'm not saying it because they're players and they're different. No, it's the same thing for me. If I'm getting destroyed, if I'm playing ping pong and I'm getting destroyed, all right, I'm gonna be pissed. Like I'm not gonna laugh and play anymore. I'm gonna get serious.
Exactly.
So it's just all right. That's all I've got. Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
I think this is what people want to hear. So like
Right.
and this is how we feel. But we'll talk about the Cowboys game. But yeah, all right. I say that once the All 22 comes out, we watch all 9 sacks and kind of look at those and see what the main issues were: play calling, blocking, quarterback.
Okay.
Do a video like that or something.
I'm cool with that.
Because no one wants to watch that game back.
Yeah.
But just those plays, and then talk about the Cowboys game next week.
Okay.
All right. As always, this is Todd.
And this is Tay.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.